Hi everyone. I want to talk today to you guys about something that's on a lot of people's minds that's going on, which is this whole thing with the people who are being detained at the border, southern border of the United States, and at times children being separated. And there's, of course, a lot of discussion going on, and this is all because our current president has decided to enforce this part of the law or policy that's been in effect for years, but to my knowledge and what I'm hearing, was not used to separate children from their parents in previous administrations. So that's what I want to talk to you about. So I know a lot of you are usually used to hearing from me as far as my collection, toys, etc. That's not going to be the discussion today, and this is going to be fairly brief. But I feel like I have got to speak out and speak up, and I think we should all speak out against this horrible policy. And so that's what I'm going to do today. If that might offend you, I suggest you not watch the rest of this video. But I want to start by just telling you briefly about a story that was in the paper today in the Indianapolis Star about proud new citizens of the U.S. And IU graduate knows hardships refugees face to find safety. Now this is about a guy named Mohammed from, I believe he was from Kenya, and he arrived here with a group, or through a group called Exodus Refugee Immigration in Indianapolis in 2010, December of 2010. So he is now a U.S. citizen, and obviously he went through steps to get there, but he says, I love this state and I'm very happy to be here. Now a U.S. citizen, Muhammad counts his blessings every day, but also wants to bring attention to citizens of the world who are suffering because of violence, disease, hunger, and despair, especially today on World Refugee Day. And that's another reason I want to do this video today. It's a day people honor the courage of refugees, people who have fled, people still in camps, people dying at sea. And then I'm going to have to go to that page. But there's some really interesting things that he says that I thought was so powerful. And I'm just going to read you a very small part. This is his picture, by the way. And he's currently working at Eli Lilly here in Indianapolis, so he's doing very well. Like every refugee person in the world, I left Somalia, so not Kenya, Somalia, by choice. Or not by choice, but by force. We were forced to leave everything behind to seek a better life. His mother died in Somalia after giving birth to his brother. His father was killed in the Civil War. My dream, he says, is just to make a difference in other people's lives. Anything I can do to help people that are in the position I was 7 years ago. I know how hopeless I was. Here's what he says, when you see people fleeing, crossing international borders, don't look at them as a problem. The problem is not the people. The problem is what's causing people to flee. I want people to look beyond politics, to look beyond opinions that are not based in reality, and to look at real people and real problems and ask their government to do everything they can to address the root cause of the problem. Ask yourself, what would you do if you were in that position? What would you do if you had to escape, if you had to do something to save your kids? Would you stay or run away? And this is what these people are doing. They're running for their lives. So I thought that was really powerful. By the way, in the same paper also, I did want to point out, in the opinion section, there's an article called, or actually it's not an article, it's an opinion guest columnist from Matthew Sorens writes, the title is Terrorizing Children is Not Excused by the Bible, and he writes a whole letter about that, and I'm not going to do it. But bottom line is, Jeff Sessions, our wonderful Attorney General, tried to justify this whole horrible mess, which, by the way, is somewhat similar to what we did to the Japanese Americans in, World War II, and putting them in internment camps. Now, I will say the big difference is those were American citizens. These are not, so there is a big difference, but we're still putting them in camps, and I think that's absolutely wrong. A lot of people are saying, and this is, I think, really, really important to point out, that, well, if they didn't do something illegal, they wouldn't get into this situation. Well, some of them, I'm sure, are trying to enter the country illegally, and maybe they have very good reasons. I'm not excusing that. I mean, that it is what it is. But if you feel desperate, sometimes you do desperate things. But a lot of them, from what I'm hearing, are asylum seekers. And it's not illegal to seek asylum into this country. And so I want people to remember that. And there's a lot of very ignorant people on, comments on stories online that basically say that same thing, that, oh, they're illegal so they get what's coming to them. And and that's what they say about these children too. Now I just want everyone to think, if you were a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 10-year-old and you're suddenly separated from your parents and you're in a country where you probably don't even speak that language, first of all, it's not your fault. And second of all, why should those children be punished? And why are we, as America, the greatest country in the world, acting like one of the worst? I mean, never in my life have I been so ashamed of a decision by this country. And I think it's horrendous what's happening, and I am definitely speaking against it. I think it's horrible, and I'm hearing more and more politicians get on that bandwagon, the actual one that's moral and just and true and what's right. And I mean, I can't believe people like Jeff Sessions and this Secretary of Homeland Security actually try to, justify this and excuse this. And for Jeff Sessions to try to use the Bible to say, oh, well, the Bible says we must follow the law. So what does the Bible say about how to treat children, though? Okay, if their parents didn't, quote unquote, follow the law, why should they be punished? And why should they be torn from their parents? I don't think that's right. And no one is ever going to convince me otherwise. It's horrible. And plus, the way we're treating some of these people, is not right, putting them in these cage-like enclosures. And I know I've seen some of the kids are in places where they have TV and they have pool tables. And does that really matter when you've been separated from your family? I don't think so. Now, just to be clear, I'm looking at an article online here that says, can you request asylum at the U.S. border? If you can get a visa to come to the U.S., such as a tourist visa, you can then apply for asylum when you arrive. However, it's best not to wait, and not to mention that you fear returning your country unless the officer is acting like he or she doesn't plan to let you in the U.S. So, they're saying the preferable option is to wait until you're in the U.S. to apply for asylum. But a lot of people can't get to that point. So if you're not being let in the country, you can't do that. So if you must request asylum at the port of entry, and I'm just going to read a little of this, the reason to avoid requesting at the port is that inspection officers have the power to quickly find you inadmissible and deport you, and then you will not be allowed to return for 5 years. They can do this if the inspector believes you are making a misrepresentation or misrepresent the truth when you got your visa. After you have said you want to apply for asylum, you immediately be given a credible fear interview by the asylum officer. The purpose is to make sure you have a significant possibility of winning your case. Let's see. This interview is supposed to be scheduled within 1 or 2 days, but it has been taking longer. If the officer isn't convinced of your fear, you must request a hearing before an immigration judge. If you don't, you will be deported and not allowed to return for 5 years. The judge must hold the hearing within 7 days, either by telephone or in person. If the judge finds you have credible fear of persecution, you'll be scheduled for a full hearing. In that case, you should seek an attorney. This proceeding will take place in court, before a judge, and with an attorney representing the Department of Homeland Security. If you fail to convince the judge of your credible fear of persecution, you will be removed from the United States. So the bottom line is, it's legal to seek asylum at this country's border. And that's what a lot of these people are doing. So I don't know why they're being constantly treated like they're doing something illegal. So two different things. We got people who are trying to enter the country illegally, and we've got asylum seekers. So, but a lot of people online that tend to be Republican or conservative, they are lumping them together, and that's just wrong. Facts are facts, as someone once said recently, and we need to stick to facts, not alternative facts like Kellyanne Conway likes. Now, the other thing I want to point out, and I think this was so powerful, was a post that I saw and shared yesterday, where people are saying, well, it's illegal, blah, 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 you can't do this, you can't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Did you guys realize that during the Holocaust, it was illegal to do a lot of things as a Jewish person and it was prohibited to do many, many things as a gay person. A lot of people today don't even know that gay men were persecuted and killed by the masses in the Holocaust, as well as, of course, Jewish people, gypsies, mentally challenged people. You know, open your eyes and see what's happening here. In this case, what's happening is people are being imprisoned for seeking asylum and for doing these kind of things. And the bottom line is it was illegal then to do, when people hid Jews in rooms, that was illegal. When Schindler saved all those Jews from the death camps, he did that illegally. Rosa Parks did things illegally. Martin Luther King Jr. did things that were illegal. People stood up for what was right, and to me, that's the kind of thing that needs to happen if possible in this situation. We can't condemn people for doing things that are right and just and true, regardless of what the law says. Because guess what? The law is sometimes wrong. That's why they get struck down. That's why things get changed. And even today, I heard on the radio that our wonderful president is going to work on trying to solve this problem. Well, guess what? He could just sign something on a piece of paper with he loves to sign his name. He could sign something on a piece of paper and change this tomorrow. But he hasn't done it. Instead, he's blaming the Democrats and saying it's their problem, it's their policy. So, you know, lies as usual from this president. He's the liar in chief, the bully in chief, and he is a total disgusting person, in my opinion. Nobody has to agree. That's why it's my opinion. But the bottom line is, I just want to say it once and for all, this is wrong. Separating children is wrong. Imprisoning people and treating them like dogs is wrong. And it's got to stop. I hope you all think about this. And I know a lot of people agree with what I'm saying. Do contact your congressperson or senator if you think that's going to help. It sure can't hurt. So I definitely recommend it. Take care, everybody. Bye.